has to look at this verse where Paul says, "For do I now persuade men or God? Or do I seek to please men? For if I yet pleased men, I should not be the servant of Christ." God gave me an ability when I was young, and what I could do is gather people together and get them all charged up. And I'd get all excited, and they'd get all excited, and I had a talent for charging people up. And in those days, I could have probably been a great false prophet because I had a way of entertaining people and bringing them in. But that was pleasing men and not pleasing God. And what he says clearly here, he says, "For if I yet pleased men, I should not be the servant of Christ." And we've covered this before. How much time is spent in seminaries teaching future pastors and preachers how to please men? Because what's it all about? Pleasing them enough to bring them into the building so that that organization can grow, so that they can contribute their part and so on. It's all about how to make it pleasing to men and women. It's the same thing. That's what it's all about. So Paul starts out right there. He says, I'm not out to please men. Because if I did, I wouldn't be the servant of Christ. But he is the servant of Christ. And why is he a servant of Christ? He says in verse 11, "But I certify you, brethren, that the gospel which was preached of me is not after man. For I neither received it of man, neither was I taught it, but by the revelation of Jesus Christ." So if we can really get this, that the gospel that was meant for us was revealed to Paul, it was a secret for all of times past, but now was revealed to us through Paul, then when somebody comes along, which often happens, and says, well look, if you really knew Hebrew well, and you could really study those times past, that Old Testament well, then you'd really know what Paul is talking about. And Paul does refer to times past. He does refer to the Old Testament. But Paul's got information that wasn't given in the Old Testament. That's what applies to us. It's a mystery. It's new stuff. And they keep trying to take you back there and say, well, no, it's all there in the Old Testament. And if you really understood here, and in doing so, every single time they're taking away your salvation. They're taking away your dependence purely on Jesus Christ. And they're putting it back down on a religious organization that you have to pay for, attend to, and most of all, perform according to how they tell you to perform. So this makes it so simple for us to know. I find it so simple to study Paul. And everything else is complicated. Now, why is it complicated? Because it wasn't written to me. So if I spend my time studying it to try and figure out, wait a minute, how was this written to me? It's not written to me. Yeah, but maybe if I knew how to speak Hebrew, I could figure out better how it was written to me. It wasn't written to me. It's not for me. What a simple difference. So that's what he says. He says, he neither received it of man, neither was he taught it, but by the revelation that Jesus, the risen Jesus Christ, gave him then, which had been kept secret since the beginning of the world. Okay. Now, if it's kept secret since the world began, and it's called the preaching of Jesus Christ according to revelation of the mystery, we know there are many parts to this mystery. And we'd have to study Paul's epistles to find out all the parts. But the most important part right now is that we Gentiles have been made nigh by the blood of Christ. Because until then we were out. That's what it's telling us about times past. We're no longer excluded by the law. That's what it's telling us. In fact, the law makes Jews and Gentiles equal now here. Now remember, in times past we weren't equal. They were the special people of God. But now that very law that made them the special people of God makes us equal. In times past we were excluded. Let's go to Romans chapter 3, verses 9 and 10. And again, this is Paul building these great doctrines that he received from the risen Jesus Christ. Romans chapter 3, verses 9 and 10. And he starts out, he's comparing Jews to Gentiles. And then he says, what then? Are we better than they? No, in no wise. For we have before proved that both Jews and Gentiles, that they're all under sin. As it is written, there is none righteous, not one. So get this. They're not covered anymore by the covenant of promise. They're in the same position that we're in. And what position is that? That we're all under sin. And what does the law do to that? What does that make us and them under the law?
Condemned.
Sinners, damned. The law in this period of time, in the times past, it condemned us. And they were in a sense above it. They had a way out of it. But now they have no special position. It doesn't matter that they're physical children of Abraham. It doesn't matter that they're circumcised. None of that matters. What matters is that they're sinners and they need mercy just the same way we do. So the first step in but now was putting aside the Jewish nation where they had their special covenant, so that now nobody had a favored status. We all became equal and had no differences as sinners. We weren't brought up at that point. They were brought down, right down with us. Romans chapter 3 verses 19 and 20. Now we know that what things soever the law saith, it saith to them who are under the law, that every mouth may be stopped, and all the world may become guilty before God. Therefore, by the deeds of the law, there shall no flesh be justified in his sight, for by the law is the knowledge of sin. That all the world may become guilty before God. They were brought right down with us. We're all guilty now. No flesh is justified anymore by the law. They're taken away. They don't have that cover anymore. Who was already guilty before God?
The Gentiles.
Right? We were. We were already guilty before God. Who became guilty by trying to follow the law?
Jews.
They did, because that's what this says it proved right here. Is that what was the law for? It was to so that every mouth may be stopped and all the world may become guilty before God. It proved to them they too couldn't make the law. They failed again and again. The law showed them, and it shows us, if we ever try and follow it, that we're guilty. That we sin, remember, because we're sinners. The law tries to get us concentrating on stopping this little sin. Whoops, here's another one. It's kind of like trying to keep pimples from coming out. You know, you put a little medicine here and another one comes out right here, you know, as you try to stop all this. That's what the law does. But pretty soon we find out, oh no, we're sinners. We can't, it doesn't matter if we keep one little sin from coming out. We're sinning because it's evidence of what's inside, what we're made of. And we're sinners. And the law proves that they're sinners too. So in times past, we would all be lost. But now, Romans chapter 3, verses 21 to 24. But now, in this time, the righteousness of God without the law is manifested.